So I'm going to show how to use the graphing calculator for checking solutions and a few other things. Now, this will work for any of the models, any of the TI graphing calculator models. Other graphing calculators will handle these a little bit differently. So, just like we would with a scientific calculator, we can write out that first step and with the parentheses, just as we would to show the check evaluating where x is 8, and enter just like we would in the scientific calculator. Here, 4 minus. Now you do need to be careful and notice the difference between the subtraction sign, your operations are all here in one color, and your negative sign. If I want a subtraction using the subtraction key, you can see how that is going to be a little bit larger and longer than if I use the negative key, which is smaller. If I use the negative key, I'll get an error message, in fact. I'll go ahead and do that right here. Minus 3, use the parentheses. I can open and close parentheses, just write it out just like I want it to look. 4 minus 3 times 2, open parentheses, 8, close parentheses, minus 5, close parentheses. Now remember, I've used the wrong sign here. You can see again, subtraction, negative. So when I hit enter, my equals down here, I'm going to get an error. And it says syntax error. One thing that's nice is if I go to where the error is and hit enter, my cursor will flash so I can see, I used a negative instead of subtraction. Let me change that to a subtraction sign, hit enter, and I can see simplifies to negative 29. On the right hand side, well, I've just got 19 minus 8. 19 minus, I can use the parentheses, 8, and 11. One thing that's nice about the graphing calculator is I can see multiple things on one screen. So negative 29 equals 11. False statement. No, 8 isn't a solution. Now, the graphing calculator is pretty cool because there's also another way I can do this. Here I have a variable key, x, t, theta, and n. And down here, right above the on, I have a store key, STO. So, I'm clearing out the calculator, and I'm wondering, is x equals 8 a solution? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, let me take 8, and let me store that. So I'm taking 8, and I'm storing it. When I hit the store key, I get that arrow as my variable. So now I'm going to hit my variable key. 8 store as x. Hit enter. So now in the calculator, anytime I use that variable key, the calculator will substitute in that value of 8. So my equation that I'm checking is 4 minus 3 times 2x, and I can just use my variable key, minus 5, close parentheses. That's my left-hand side. And again, the calculator at this point is going to take 8 as the value of x and evaluate. Negative 29. On the right-hand side, 19 minus x, use my variable key. Again, 8 is still stored as the value for x. 11. Not a true statement. It checks, and it checks very quickly, which is nice. Okay. With fractions, the calculator can handle fractions. 8/15 minus 13/90. Well, I'm just going to need to use my division for my fractions. Let's see, right there. So 8 divided by 15 minus 13 divided by 90. Now, if I hit enter, I'm going to get this as a decimal. I don't want a decimal, I want a fraction. I'm going to use my math menu. Under the math menu, the very first one says convert to a fraction. The second would be convert to a decimal. Third would be to cube something. Fourth would be the cube root. Fifth would be any root. And I can also go over and get into these other menus as well. But I just want my answer as a fraction, so I'm going to hit 1 and I'm going to hit enter. And it says take my answer, make it a fraction, and I hit enter, 7/18. And I could have had that, if I hit second enter, the calculator will go up and in its memory and go to earlier things that you have had on that main screen. Here I can go directly to math fraction and it'll give me the answer as a fraction directly without having to go through the decimal. Mixed numbers. The graphing calculator will not do mixed numbers like the scientific calculator will. What you would need to do is either convert these to improper fractions first or go with parentheses. 12 and 1/6 means 12 plus 1/6. Then I have plus. 8 and 2/3 means 8 plus 2/3. I want the answer as a fraction. Use the math menu. Say you want the answer as a fraction. 125/6. It will not convert it to a mixed number. You would have to go through that with your long division. 125 divided by 6 is 20. 6 times 20 is 120. 125 minus 120 is 5. So we have 20 and 5/6. It's going to be easier if you're converting to a mixed number to simply do the long division, or at least write it out that way to get in the proper form. Now here, the only difference between these two is that I have parentheses around the -5. If I have parentheses, my base here, the exponent is 2, meaning I've got the same thing multiplied by itself twice, but my base here is -5. -5 times -5, positive 25. Here, without the parentheses, my base is 5. 5 times 5 is 25, then we negate it. So you do need to be careful with using your calculator and knowing what you're doing. The calculator can give you an answer very quickly. It's up to you to be able to determine if the answer is correct. So here, I'm going to use parentheses, -5, close parentheses, squared. Now I can use the squared key right here, and I'll just get my squared. That's going to be the easiest. But I also can use this caret to raise to any power. The squared will work just to the second power. I can use the caret, so if I wanted to the 5th power, I'd raise to the 5th power. So -5 to the 2nd power. I did a plus. Go backwards and change that to a minus. 12, open parentheses, -5, close parentheses, plus 4, 89. If I did not have the parentheses, -5 to the 2nd, minus 12 times -5, plus 4, I've got a completely different answer because, again, these two are completely different numbers. So parentheses are very important. Be sure you know how to use your model of calculator.